Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Oxford Business Insights podcasts. Today, we're going to talk about how the Group GA built and then rebuilt from crisis to become a reputation-led building services business. And I'd like to welcome aboard Carl Vink, the Managing Director. Carl, welcome.
Morning, Nick. Thanks for having me on.
Brilliant. So Group GA is a specialist building services company delivering electrical, plumbing, heating, fire and security, smart homes, ventilation, air conditioning and maintenance solution with a reputation built almost entirely through referrals and long-term client trust. And so we're going to be talking a little bit about apprenticeships, culture, a real crisis point for the business. Quite a long time ago, rebuilding with a loyal core team. And I love the team bit. It's going to be really insightful for a lot of businesses listening to this. And why Carl still prefers reputation over aggressive sales. Carl, does that sort of summarise what we're going to talk about?
Yeah, pretty much. You've captured it there. Well done.
Brilliant. Thank you. Okay, but before we get into that, I'd like to know a little bit about Carl. So you started your career at the Rover factory in Cowley. So tell me a little bit about how you got into that, why you ended up in the apprenticeship scheme there. Just tell me a little bit how you got started as a working man.
I'd always worked in my uncle's businesses from 13 years old. Every holiday, every summer holiday, I was very lucky. I had one uncle's a roofer. I had a builder. One made timber buildings and installed in people's homes. One was electrician.
Right.
So I was always busy, and I knew I wanted to get out of school pretty quick. I was interested more in kind of mechanics, engines and that kind of thing. So I really wanted to be a mechanic. The careers advisor told me that I was going to get some half decent grades and I should maybe aspire to do something else. So there was an apprenticeship at the Rover factory in Cowley,
Yeah.
which at the time was making the Rover 600 and the Rover 800, and they also had Rolls Royce there.
All right.
So I went for an apprenticeship there, and it was electromechanical apprenticeship. So I managed to get that somehow. I don't know how, but it was an amazing apprenticeship. They taught us. It was electronics. It was robotics, keeping the production line running. There was pneumatics, hydraulics. We did welding. We were using a milling machine, a lathe. So all the skills you needed really to keep the whole of the site production line running. So that was my apprenticeship. So that was 4 years. I did a little stint in the Rolls Royce factory, which shattered my illusions somewhat as to how cars are actually built.
Excellent. And in what way did it shatter your illusions?
Well, seeing how the Rover 600 and the Rover 800 was put together, the panels are built elsewhere in Swindon. They were pressed,
right,
and the bonnet and the wings would come, and they would assemble it, and it was all kind of nice, and the lines were looking nice. And then that was called the body in white section. That was one part of the factory, and then it would go to the paint section where we painted, and that was robots painting it. So that'd be interesting seeing it painted and dipped and whatnot. And then the final assembly would be where they put the engine in, put the wheels on, that kind of stuff. Which was the nice, neat, clean, sexy kind of part of the factory.
Yeah.
With the Rolls Royce at Oxford at the time, they just assembled it.
Right.
I think it was the Phantom, and they soldered a lot of the joints and whatnot. But when they put it together, the sheer amount of lump hammers and rubber hammers used to batter those panels into shape so it looked nice was I kind of left there just a little bit disillusioned. I thought it would be this.
That's interesting.
This amazing process, and it wasn't that. Yeah, it wasn't that.
Excellent. Okay, I hope they don't do that to the aero engines. I know it's a different business, but excellent. Okay, so look. What did that environment teach you? Other than you learned a lot technically, you were doing learning electrical sort of engineering. What else did it teach you, and particularly about business, how to run a business or how to be a part of a business? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, going into there, do you remember the National Record of Achievement we all did at school? Which we were a bit of a lie. We were told that was going to follow us for the whole of our career, and it would be the most important document.
Yeah.
All I wrote in that, because I've been a football captain. All I wrote in that is I want to be a manager. That was my plan. I just love managing and running teams and stuff. So going into there, the management was interesting, to say the least.
Yeah.
the unions were quite strong in the factory
Yeah.
at the time. But what was really good is they'd adopted a lot of Chinese principle, one called Kaizen,
Yeah.
which is kind of continuous improvement
Prove it.
and that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. So that was really interesting for us. I really love seeing, and they had this just in time
Yeah.
philosophy for production lines and whatnot, which was so that side of it and seeing the business side of it was really, really interesting. The strength of the unions was challenging
Yeah.
to see. We had electrical engineers in there and mechanical engineers.
Yeah.
Mechanical engineers would be called millwrights.
Yeah.
And my year apprenticeships, we were the first year we were supposed to be electrical and mechanical
Okay.
combined. So they trained us on both. And about the third year into our apprenticeship, the unions quashed it and said, no, you need to choose. You can't do that because you're going to take away a man's job if you do both.
Right.
At one instance, there was a production line where they were building the Rover 600. The robots would bring all the wings together and the panels and bolt it all together and whatnot and weld, and the men would come in and weld part of it and robots would weld it. And we were told back then, what was that, 96, 97?
Yeah.
If the production line stopped, it would be $4,000 a minute they'd lose. And normally it'd stop, it'd be a quick, our job was to keep it running as engineers. If it was sort of for 30 seconds, you'd have a production manager there looking at you. After a minute, you'd have a couple. I was on one call. I was on one breakdown. I was on my own. I was still an apprentice, and it had been down for about 15 minutes, and I had about 10 managers, and they were on the radios, and they're screaming because there's no stock. It's literally going to stop the whole of the production line. And I found what was wrong. I was really happy. There's a little sensor which senses the panel.
Yeah.
And the little bracket was holding it was broken.
Yeah.
And all I needed to do was tighten up an Allen key, tighten up this little bolt to move it, and it could reset it. And then they asked what it was. I told them what it was, and then somebody from the union said, "Oh, that's a mechanical job." And I was like, "Yeah, I can do it." They said, "No, you can't do that because you're going to take someone's job." So we got on the radio, called the mechanical chaps. There was no one available, and I think it took 15 minutes to get somebody.
Yeah.
But I was like, "Oh, how could they run it?" It was frustrating.
Yeah. How can you do that?
How can you run a business like so? So I learned a lot from that about business and people and the whole us and them mentality of management and whatnot. I didn't like that side of it.
Excellent. Okay. Well, funny enough, I've heard almost identical story, but on a television production line from a similar era when the big TV screens where it ground to a halt at Thorn EMI because the wrong person turned up to to fix. Anyway, let's move on. So, understand how you got there. So you then moved after a while into your uncle's electrical business. Tell us a little bit about how that happened.
Yeah, so he had a small electrical business, mostly doing just domestic jobs. He had High Wycombe shopping centre. He won his first large job, and there was a lot of metal work to install in the ceilings, and it wasn't going very well.
Yeah,
he knew that we did some metal work in the factory, so he asked me and my friend to come along at the weekend to help him out, and we did, and he was pretty impressed with us. And then he started asking me to come and join the business, and there was no way I wanted to be an electrician. There was no way in the world I wanted to be an electrician for him. But I'd had enough of the factory, and I wanted out. I had set up another little business on the side. I was running a security business.
Okay.
So I thought that was a good opportunity for me. So in the end, I left and joined his business. Maybe 2008, I think it was.
Yeah.
Sorry, 1998. Sorry.
Okay. So you worked in the business run by your uncle, who sort of established it quite long. Had been going. It was quite a well-established business, wasn't it? By that time.
Yeah.
And you worked in there, but going into around about 2010, you got a situation where you took over control of the business. Is that right?
Yeah. So I joined in '98. At the time, it was a family business, uncle, auntie, and their son. And there's a few challenges there always are with family businesses and whatnot. And it was decided after a couple of years that I would buy in. So I luckily I'd saved some money. So all of my hard-earned savings I'd bought into that business.
Yeah.
Which wasn't the best financial decision in the world because the business wasn't making any money. But that's the story for another day. And then eventually we grew the business. There was probably four electricians at the time when I joined.
Yeah.
But by 2010, we'd grown the business. We'd started doing more electrical contracting
Yeah.
and larger stuff, which I was more comfortable with rather than the domestic.
Yeah.
And in 2010, my uncle and auntie retired, so I bought them out of the business
Yeah.
in Easter. I got heavily loaned and remortgaged the house to purchase the business,
Wow.
but
Yeah. So
I
you
was
went
confident.
all in. Yeah.
Yeah, I was all in, to say the least. And even to the point I had my parents and some other family members that were kind enough to get loans and lend me some money. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, 6 months later, our number one client, who had owed us a lot of money, went into liquidation.
Wow. Okay. So how did you
Yeah,
deal with that?
well, the business, the week before they went into liquidation, the business was running on its overdraft.
Yeah.
Overdraft secured in my house, my family home.
Yeah.
Luckily, by the grace of God, I got paid
Yeah.
before they went under. So I was, had money in the bank. I didn't lose my house. Essentially spoke to all our members of staff, everyone who worked for us. I told them exactly what has happened. I
Yeah.
was confident that we could make our way through, but it
Yeah.
was going to be challenging. And if anyone wanted to leave now, because I realised my risk.
Yeah.
I said the same to some of our biggest clients. I told them the same. I thought they were going to ditch me, and I was really surprised. We had a vote of confidence from our clients,
Yeah.
and a couple of them in particular said, "Look, we're going to help you out. We're going to give you some more work," which absolutely blew my
That's
mind.
really how big was your sort of team at that time,
Uh,
roughly?
18,
Well, so not tiny. There's quite a few people depending on you.
yeah, 18 people. It was. I remember that meeting like it was yesterday. We sat down. I told everybody exactly what's happening,
Yeah.
and one of them left last year, but 17 of them are still there. And
Wow.
they make from 2010 to now, that they make the hardcore of the business. They were
Brilliant.
yeah, kind of feel like they
You
believe
must
in
feel very
GA.
proud of that, from a management and leadership point of view, not just.
Well, proud and unbelievably humbled, actually, because
Yeah.
yeah, it's this kind of the support you have with people when you work that long with them and you trust each other and you
Yeah.
know the story. Yeah, it's yeah,
No,
you
that's really
yeah.
great story. So look, I know I'd like to come on to sort of how you develop the business, but I guess some people you went out to your existing customers in a difficult time and had an honest conversation with them. Some people might have reacted by just going out and selling anything to anybody. What gave you the confidence? You clearly had confidence in your team, particularly when they showed you that the loyalty back. What made you sort of? How did you build the business from that sort of very difficult point?
Um, I think I was focused on. It used to blow my mind. Sometimes I would speak to people of business people. I was members of a few associations,
Yeah,
and they would say things like, "Oh, the business is doing really, really well. Our turnover's up. Our turnover's up. Quality's a problem." And I'd be like, it would blow my mind. I was like, "What?" For me, like coming out of the factory, quality was everything,
yeah,
and
absolutely.
doing good work was everything, and making sure your team was happy and that was functioning. That was primary.
Yeah,
I'm not, you know, I've been convinced otherwise, but I don't think I'm a natural salesman. So first and foremost, I'm more interested in doing the work. So we just like to do good work, focus on good work, have good relations with the client, have good team, and then get more work off the back of that. That's our business model.
okay,
That's what I feel comfortable with that.
excellent. And so, in terms of, is there anything else from that period? You got the business. How long do you think it took to sort of stabilize the business, or was it pretty quick from a difficult situation?
2.5 years, and then all my debt was paid off.
Wow,
2.5 years it took to stabilize and the debt paid off.
excellent.
And that was if anyone's going through that, and every now and then I'll have one of my clients goes bust, and
Yeah,
they're expecting me to ring them up angry because they owe me some money. But normally I'm giving them some advice because it's the worst time.
yeah,
It's it's the worst time. But yeah, plow. You learn a lot. You learn a lot in that. And we made some essential business rules during that. Silly little things. We said, moving forward, no more than 20% of our turnover, one client, that kind of thing. So we got
yeah.
some. We learned a lot, and commercially we got a lot more astute from that situation.
Excellent. Okay. So as you went through and you stabilized the business in like 2013-ish, roughly sort of time, how did you sort of start, growing the business to what it is now, and particularly how did you build the team? Because I know you had that core loyal team. 17 out of 18 are still with you, and the other one lasted for a long time. It seemed. But how did you go about recruiting people who fitted what you how you wanted to operate?
Um, it's such a challenge in our industry
Yeah,
for me to employ a qualified electrician with a few, or plumber, or AC engineer, or ventilation engineer with a few years' experience. We struggle. We really,
yeah,
really struggle. So we've always taken on apprentices.
yeah.
We had a little phase 10, 15 years ago. We weren't really happy with the quality of some of our apprentices, what the college was doing and how they getting taught and whatnot. So we developed an internal training program for all our
Okay.
team. We do a lot of internal training, so I run that. I'll meet them every 6 months.
Yeah.
Nowadays, we're employing apprentices probably 18 years old, but it used to be 16 years. So
Right.
for the first couple of years, you're really teaching them about life and values and
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. So we actually teach that. We have a training module for our apprentices where we talk to them about debt,
Yeah.
and then we speak to them about getting a loan. Like, do you really need to buy that car for
Yeah.
seven? You can't afford it. So we have all those kinds of conversations to make sure hopefully they've had a good life
So they
and
come out as
parent.
rounded human beings, not just technically
Yeah, yeah.
competent.
So and we teach time management, all that kind of stuff. So at the moment, I think we just recruited another six, so we're probably up to 23 apprentices in the business at the moment.
Wow.
And
At all stages. Is it still a 4 year apprenticeship? How long would they go? Yeah.
still 4 years, yeah, yeah. And most of our staff have been through the apprenticeship route.
Yeah.
We've got a couple of people, superstars, that we've employed on, we found, but
Yeah.
we struggle really. So yeah, so we grow slow and steady,
Yeah.
which is another reason why I can't all of a sudden double my turnover, and because I can't resource it. And
Yeah.
we've done it once or twice. We've taken on too much work, and we've tried to get some extra labour in, and it never
Yeah.
ends well.
And in
So
terms of how you teach them about the values of how to treat a client or work with a client, because we'll talk in a moment about some of the projects you do, but you do quite high end clients, not work with probably pretty high expectations of both the quality of the technical work, but also probably the way they're being treated. So do you spend a lot of time talking about to them about what the clients expect?
yeah, unfortunately nowadays, pretty much every job we do has an NDA on it, so I can't talk
Yeah,
about.
no,
We can't talk about any of the work. But yeah, so for example, on the first year of their apprenticeship, we'll have them in the office for maybe 3 to 6 months.
right,
Um, we're all in the warehouse working with a team. So first of all, we get to know them,
yeah,
and we get to know them personally and whatnot. And we're just really, really clear what the expectations are, what our clients expect. You know, when to speak, do people want your opinions? People don't want to hear about what you did last night? You're at work, all that kind of stuff. It's constant.
yeah. No, I get that, and I would imagine that keeping discretion. You mentioned NDAs before, but that actually with some of your higher end clients, that discretion is expected. It's not something to go talking down the pub about some of the work.
Well, it's even worse than that. We've recently done a project where if for every breach of anything confidential, it's a fixed £20,000 fee.
Wow.
So, and I did a toolbox talk on it for the whole of the company. I said, look,
Yeah.
if I was this client, I would get you down the pub, I would get you drunk, and I'd start asking you questions and recording you, because it's literally just a way to make money. So you need to think, you need to think about this, because we're all signed up to it.
Zero sum project for that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Excellent. Okay, come back to how you've grown, and particularly thinking a bit more about the sales side of the business. Is you have grown by reputation, and obviously you do good work that gets known about. But why have you sort of taken that route rather than perhaps going the more wider based marketing, sort of going out hunting for business rather than getting referrals? Was that just how you felt the business should be run, or was there just how it worked?
I think there's been times where we've gone more aggressive and
Yeah,
we've contacted 10 new clients saying, look, here we
yeah,
are, we
yeah,
could do some work for you, and then everyone's happy for you to give them a quotation because it costs them nothing. So
yeah,
you always get those companies that want to get 100 quotes and they want to, it's just a race to the bottom. So
yeah,
we don't want to be involved in that. I think I just learned along the way that if you have a relationship with somebody and you can ring them up and say, like, I'm really keen on this project and but I've got a couple of questions, and they want you have a conversation about it. You're involved in that project. You've got a relationship. They
yeah,
know you're going to do a good work. When's it going to start? All those basic stuff. When you don't know who you're working for and you're just pricing it, um,
yeah,
I think you've got to do 10 of those projects to find a client that kind of fits for you and your business, really.
yeah. Okay, I understand. Understand that. And do you sort of work more directly with architects or other designers, or is it directly for the client?
And more and more so directly for the client. Normally, 50% of the time, the client, or sometimes the interior designer, sometimes the architect, normally the mechanical electrical consultant.
Yeah,
If they like us, if they, we've done a project with them before, and they know it's good quality work, and
yeah,
they trust us. Normally, they're the ones that would normally give a nod to say to
yeah,
the client or the architect, "Oh yeah, these chaps are all right. You can consider their quote." Um, so yeah, so you're only as good as your last job there, so that it
yeah.
forces us to do a good job every time.
Absolutely. And look, you don't run a big sales team. In fact, I think you only have sort of one.
We have one sales superstar. He will be happy to be named. Yeah, yeah. We have
Yeah,
one in our fire and security department.
yeah. Okay, but he's just focused on that. He doesn't do it. He's not sort of like a. I'm sure if he saw an opportunity, he'd bring it back in, but that's not his primary task. He is focused on foreign security.
On fire and security and maintenance contracts as well. Yeah.
Okay, okay. And you have very smart looking vans with. And I've seen the vans, but it's not sort of plastered with call us for a quote or stuff like that, or even a great description of what you do. It's really just sort of from the way it's the brand name and the website, isn't it? It's
Yeah, just the company name and the website. Yeah, so that was a discussion in a board meeting. So
yeah,
I think it just looks a little bit cooler.
yeah,
I I get a little cringe when I see no job too big, nothing too small. We'll do this, and
yeah,
this
yeah,
is every service you do. Um, yeah, arguably we could say electrical and mechanical engineers, but in our business, when we say mechanical engineers, most people don't really know what that means. They think it's a mechanic, but it's
yeah,
really plumbing, heating,
yeah,
hot and cold water supplies, that kind of stuff, air conditioning, ventilation. It's that. So, yeah, so we fly a little bit under the radar, and
yeah,
some of our clients like it as well because we'll go and attend, and we have a, a big stock of vans, a
yeah,
fleet of just under 40 vehicles flying around. And if they turn up, Group G are there, but you don't really know what they're doing.
yeah. Okay, no, that's really interesting, and and obviously you protect both your clients and your own brand. Do I guess there's a danger, slight danger with that you might be sort of seen as an area's best kept secret, which is not necessarily a bad position to be. But if somebody was perhaps looking to apply with an apprenticeship or any other job going, they might think, well, who are Group GA? Is that or what do they do? Is that is that why you put the website on the van so that people can go out and find about what do they do if they want to?
Yeah, well, I interviewed 13 apprentices the Wednesday before last. That was
Yeah,
one of my favorite things to do. And whatever's going on at the moment, the standard of young men at the moment is certainly increased the last few years. So whatever's going on in the
right,
world, it was nice to see.
good,
Half of those knew somebody that worked with us, or
right.
somebody had said they're a great company to work for. You want to get in there. So yeah, that's ideal for me.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, no, that's great to have. So, how is the business? How's the business? I know you do a lot of things, as we said right at the beginning. How has that grown, and how is it structured today? How much is sort of fire and security, or what you've always done in electrical and mechanical, and what are the growth areas?
Yes, so at the beginning we did everything, but
Yeah,
everyone was doing everything, and we created departments. So first of all, we separated it. We were just electrical. And we separate out electrical kind of local work in the works department,
Yeah.
and then contracting. And then 10 or 11 years ago, when we created mechanical, we separated out the mechanical department. And then we have a fire and security department. And then now we have a BMS department. So we've got those departments running. They've all got a head, and they've all got people in charge, and they've all got their own budgets and
Yeah.
overheads, that kind of stuff. With regards to a split, it's about 65-70% of our work is contracting,
Yeah.
and about 20% is maintenance, and about 20-30% is fire and security and local workish. I know
Yeah.
that doesn't add up quite to 100,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's the rough percentages. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And which do you see the growth? You mentioned smart homes when we first talking. What do you see as the growth areas for the business, or is it you want it to
Yeah.
grow?
Well, for the last 2 or 3 years, my passion in the business, I've been driving the BMS department,
Right.
which is for people that don't know, essentially the smart control of your
Yeah.
heating and your hot water and your air conditioning, your ventilation, and
Yeah.
doing wonderful stuff. And we can do some lighting and control and that kind of stuff with it. So we're using a system that not many people use in England for the high-end residential. So I think
Yeah.
we're the front of that. So we're integrating that with some of the more traditional lighting control and cinema systems and
Right.
audio systems at the moment. So that's the next stage of our business. Really, is we've been doing that work for a few years, outsourcing parts of it.
Yeah.
The next stage is to have a director lead in that and a team solely focused on that. That's what we're focused on now.
Excellent. Okay. Well, I'm sure it's a rapidly growing area. And you mentioned the sort of high end domestic properties. Would you do that in commercial arena? You mentioned shopping centres in the past and things like that. Is that
We've done some art galleries and some museums, that kind of
right?
stuff. Probably not. Probably not so much shopping centres and stuff.
Right. Okay, that's good. Good to know. Okay. We've mentioned the apprenticeships as the route to growing. And you've equally just mentioned that you might bring in one or two specialists if you're opening up a new area or a director to run the BMS side of it. How do you go about sort of retention? Because one, people get them in, and I get how you would, it'd be a great apprenticeship for anybody to join you. But then there is always that thing you hear about with apprentices. They get qualified, and then somebody else comes in and offers them 10% more, 20% more, whatever it is. And sometimes it's a struggle to keep them. But you seem to have got the trick of actually keeping them loyal and keeping them in the business for the long term. How do you manage that?
That was an issue a few years ago. It's really interesting actually. The amount of times I had the conversation with somebody when they wanted to leave and they'd qualified with us, they'd been there a year or two,
Yeah.
and they always said, "I feel like I'm treated like an apprentice still."
Okay.
And and they felt like they'd done their apprenticeship, but
Yeah.
nothing. They're waiting for this big change right now. I'm qualified. I'm going to get treated differently, etc., etc. And whatever that shift was internally, it never happened. So we became aware of that. We lost two people that we didn't want to lose.
Right.
So we analysed the hell out of it and looked into that. So yeah, when our apprentices are qualified, they're qualified. Everyone knows about it. They're treated differently. They're treated like a
Okay.
tradesperson. They feel part of the team, and we've got I stole this from Rover actually. In Rover, you've got levels of grading inside the business. I always aspired to be a control engineer, which was the most technical person in
Yeah.
Rover. But it was actually BMW when I left, because BMW started making the Mini there. I didn't have a hope in hell of being a control engineer because I wasn't intelligent enough. They were creme de la creme. But yeah, internally in GA now. So as you join an apprentice, you're grade 1.
Yeah.
When you finish your apprenticeship, if you've ticked all the boxes and done our internal training, everything we need to do, you end up grade 3. And for example, I'm grade 7 as the MD.
Yeah. Okay.
So everybody's got a route through the business, and
Okay.
that's either a technical route. We have a control engineer route where you're master of technology,
Yeah.
or that's a management or supervision route, or that kind of thing. So everybody's got a route, so they don't feel like they're gonna leave because they're just a number.
Yeah, excellent. No, I think that's really important to give people some structure. And okay, looking forward, obviously, there's some challenges in around the world and the general economy, but looking forward to the next 4 years or 3 4 years, what do you see, the market doing for you, and where do you see the expansion continuing to come from?
Um, yeah, so every time we have a board meeting and someone talks about the world and what's going on, I always remind them that we're a in a scheme of things,
Yeah,
a ridiculously small business.
yeah,
We don't need that much work. We're in a little bubble in what we're doing.
yeah,
So we could just focus on that. So just bring everyone back to reality because
yeah,
you can lose yourself. Yeah, we set some goals 4 years ago,
yeah,
some business goals, and they will materialized last year, a year ahead of schedule, which was great. So we got a project running now called Project 2030,
yeah,
which is not ridiculous growth. I think a business always needs to grow because
yeah,
if you're stagnant, no one's got anywhere to go, and things are stagnant. So we're not chasing turnover, but there are more departments we want to open up internally. We've got another 4 or 5 departments that are on the chalkboard, if you like.
yeah.
So the plan is to open more of those. There's some collaboration coming on with some other businesses as well. We're going to be partnering with. But effectively by 2030, the business, we've grown a little bit, and we've got 3 more departments running, and
Mhm.
there's a slightly different structure. Yeah.
Okay, and just in terms of sort of like, you mentioned smart homes and AV and things like that. It, it- that is that a different sort of technology coming together? And does it make them harder to integrate, or does it just mean you need to bring different skills into the business with the impact of AI, for example, in terms of plugging things together? Just give me your thoughts. Do you think you'll need different skills rather than just somebody who knows perhaps specifically on BMS to a high level, but actually somebody who can do the frontline work of perhaps more like a traditional programmer, computer programmer, integrating stuff more.
Yeah, completely different skills. What does blow my mind is the technology which is being used in homes now and commercial
Yeah,
buildings is actually the same technology I learned in the factory.
yeah,
It hasn't changed. People are communicating on something called BACnet. They're using Modbus, all that kind of stuff.
yeah,
So, yeah, that skill set we definitely don't have internally. So the actual programming, the software, and the commissioning side of it is a great area for people to be upskilled. So we're
yeah.
upskilling members of staff at the moment on that. We
Right.
actually built our own workshop as well last
Oh,
year.
okay.
So we're building all our boards and our panel boards ourselves and control panels and whatnot. So that's interesting.
Excellent.
Oh, and we've just this year we've just recruited our first BMS apprentice as well.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, so
Excellent. Well, look, that's a pretty comprehensive tour of Group GA from, really the last almost 30 years, but particularly for the last 15, 16. I've got to say, a complete admiration for what you've done and the way you're going about it, building with apprentices and bringing through people, not just technical skills, but the culture, and trying to get that right. I'm sure you'll enjoy long-term success. Is there any other sort of message? If there's anybody out there that might see this, that might know a potential apprentice or somebody that might be interested in BMS or obviously commercial in terms of working with you, what's the best way to for them to get in contact with you? Is it the website or contact you
yeah,
directly?
yeah, via our website if you drop an email if you're interested. So we have there's a bit of a change at the moment. Actually, it was always really hard to recruit apprentices because the schools are encouraged to keep them to 18 now, aren't they?
Yeah,
The schools get money to keep them to 18. But it's not just electrical and plumbing and mechanical and fire and security apprenticeships. We've just got our first quantity surveyor doing a
oh,
degree,
interesting.
doing the
Yeah,
degree apprenticeship with us, mechanical engineering degree apprenticeships, that kind of stuff. So
yeah,
if you're slightly more academic, but you
yeah.
want to be involved on something more practical, there's routes. So yeah, anyone interested, we recruit twice a year for our team.
Excellent. Well, look, we've gone through sort of how you've developed from sort of a crisis situation, but built loyalty both with your customers and your staff, from survival through to sort of apprentice-led growth. and a reputation first approach, which I think is serving you well and giving you new opportunities. So, look, if anybody wants to learn more, groupga.co.uk is the website. Obviously, lovely to follow and subscribe and listen to this podcast again, or share it. So, look, Carl, that's been really interesting. Thank you for sharing your story with us, and we look sure. I hope you get some positive responses from people listening to this. I'm sure you will. So, thanks a lot, Carl.
I appreciate it, Nick. Thanks for your time.